we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. Hope you're having a very good sort of a day. Back for the second time today. Well, wasn't planning on doing one this morning, but we did one anyway. Tonight's show, though, is one that's going to interest a lot of people, particularly if you've been following this show for a long time. We've encouraged you and tried to help educate you in all sorts of different ways about, of course, we've used Kath and her team from Freedom Financial Solutions to help us do that. But the government last night threw a couple of spanners into the works, and to bring us up to date on what's really going on with the whole thing, let's get Cass in to bring us up to date. Cass, thanks for coming, and I realise it's a very busy day for you. You'll have people demanding answers from you left, right, and centre. There seems to be some pretty groundbreaking changes, particularly when it comes to tax law and trusts after this budget. Is it going to affect everybody, or are we blowing this out of proportion?
No, you're not blowing it out of proportion. I think it's the biggest attack on property investors and family businesses we've seen, well, in decades, for as long as I've been watching the budget, which is decades. They say it was about affordability. It's going to completely reshape the investment and business landscape in Australia.
So for people who don't understand what negative gearing means, let's just say I've got one or two investment properties that I currently rent out, and I live in a third property somewhere. I'm wealthy and I've done well. What does that mean to those people?
So negative gearing is basically negative cash flow. So the rent comes in, and then you have all your expenses, interest, insurances, rates, blah, blah, blah. The expenses are more than the rent, so you make a loss. On average, an investment property might make a 10 to 15,000 a year loss. A lot of that is depreciation, which is a non-cash item. I won't get into that technicality, but the property makes a loss, and investors are okay with this. Negative gearing has been one of the predominant reasons for investing in property for as long as I have known, because people are willing to take that $15,000 loss because they claim a tax deduction. They get half of that back. So they get a big tax refund, reduces the loss. They're still making a loss, but then they make that loss every single year. And then when they sell the property, they make a big capital gain, which previously was taxed very concessionally. So they're taking that away from us, the negative gearing, as well as slapping us with much harsher capital gains tax rules.
Is it possible for a double income family, 3 kids, to service a investment property mortgage without negative gearing?
Previously, yes, depending on the level of income of the mum and dad. If they are both on good wages, so for 20 years I was selling investment properties to clients, and the majority of them were just mum and dad investors, and they relied on the fact of the negative gearing because their income was quite high. They didn't like paying all the taxes they were paying, so the tax system was basically subsidising their property portfolio. But the main source of wealth was the capital gain. So that's what they're banking on, making a loss, getting a tax benefit, but then a big capital gain when they sell the property that was taxed concessionally. So more and more these days, with interest rates rising and the cost of living, there would be less and less mum and dads that can do it now. And now that these budget changes have come in, it's going to slash it even more. Because one thing that
this will create a cash flow problem in those sorts of houses, won't it, though? Regardless of what they might be able to get back in any capital gain, they've got to sell the asset.
Well, It's grandfathered. So for existing investors, they will still be under the old rules. So it's
Is
not
that
going to affect
permanently or just a little time?
permanently, as far as we know so far. But what it will do is radically change the future of property investment. So negative gearing was one of the biggest draw cards. The negative gearing and the capital gains tax discounts were the two big draw cards to get people into property investing. Now, future investors are going to be sitting back and going, yeah, well, that's not such a good thing after all. And there's something that nobody has discussed yet, which is when is your borrowing capacity. So one big thing about buying investment properties is you've got to be able to afford the loan. And so the banks assess the loan. It's called borrowing capacity assessment. And the banks factor in the tax benefits of the negative gearing. So the banks won't be doing that in future loans, which therefore will mean it's a credit crunch, so to speak. And we all know what happens when there's a credit crunch. It brings on recessions and all sorts of things. So the banks will be lending less. So even those people that think about property investment in the future and are still willing to do it, despite these changes, may not be able to because of the change in the borrowing capacity.
If you've got an investment property and it's currently rented out, you've got good renters who pay their rent on time, they keep your property clean and nice. But simply because of these changes the government are now foisting upon you, you're not going to be able to keep them at their current rental rate. You're going to have to up their rent, and it'll be a significant jump. Is there a benefit in doing that, or do you, as the landlord, wear more of the cost, or do you throw them out and set it up as an Airbnb?
No, well, so luckily the changes don't apply to the existing properties, so that's really important. But the question is still valid because the interest rate rises and the land tax rises and all the insurance rises and all the other rises that everyone is facing are putting that pressure on landlords to increase rents. And that has an ongoing effect on those that are renting, that they've now got higher rents. So, but what the major impact that I see will be the property market, the value of the properties. So if all of a sudden there's less people investing in property, I mean, it flows straight on to the market value of properties. Property investors make up a very significant part of the property market. And if they all start pulling out, not the existing ones, they're not necessarily going to sell, but new investors think twice, that will depress property market prices.
Well, for those folks who might be coming into retirement and about to pick up a significant lump sum, they thought they might pour that into another investment, property or land somewhere. Is it better now to start talking to Ainsley about ways and means of improving your wealth using, the gold standard, so to speak, gold and silver?
Yeah, as you know, I've been saying that for a very long time, and even more so at the moment, because I do believe there'll be an impact on property prices, but it won't be immediate. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Some people say I do, but I don't. It might be 6 months, it might be 12 months, it might be 2 years. But I do believe property prices will be coming down. So all I can say is if I was looking at buying a property, I would wait. I would put my money in gold and silver and just wait to see the ultimate effect of these changes before I would go and buy a property.
Well, silver in particular has jumped $9 in the last couple of days, $9 an ounce, and it's showing, strong signs of heading in the right direction. What are you hearing about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why it's increased. I'm not hearing anything about why it's increased, but it has, which is a good thing. Because we all know that it was way, way, way up in February and has been down since, which is just remarkable given the war and everything. But, that's unfortunate about the market. We can't time the gold and silver market. It has unknown factors that nobody fully understands because it seems to be manipulated behind the scenes.
Ain't that the truth? Speaking of manipulated behind the scenes, One Nation have done pretty well in the voting in a couple of different states and in a federal seat in the last little time. Going forward, I'm asking you to gaze into that crystal ball people accuse you of having. But One Nation as a leadership force in this country, I've always been of the belief anything that has been voted in by an unlawful or unconstitutional or even a lawful and constitutional government can be voted out again by the next clear-thinking mob that get elected. Do you think that One Nation are that clear-thinking mob? And have you seen a finance policy from them that you would lead you to a decision or an idea where they're going to be financially speaking, regards budgets come the next election?
Yeah, look, as people may know, I ran with Clive Palmer's party in 2020 election, and then Hart Party in the last election. I was actually thinking about doing it again, despite me always saying I'll never do it again after every election. But I was thinking about potentially joining One Nation, but they completely lost me with when the war broke out and Pauline wanted to send our boys off to war. She completely lost me at that stage, and I'm just not interested. I've definitely joined the camp that just basically says anyone that gets voted in, it's all part of the same machine, it's all part of the same corruption, it's all controlled. A lot of people say we don't have a political solution. I'm sort of in that camp these days. And then you've got the next thing about their election promises mean nothing anyway, as we saw last night. You've
been hearing about that in your messages today? What have the people you've been speaking to saying about the lies that the government has basically blatantly told us?
Yeah, it's just what they do. And that's one part of the TV I watched where Chalmers was trying to justify it. And he's just justifying it on the basis of, we changed our minds. So their promises mean absolutely nothing because they can just change their minds.
So the Australian people have changed their minds about whether or not they'd like the Labor Party and much more the Liberal Party to lead in this country at the moment. But I don't believe there is an avenue forward for the people to overthrow the government lawfully. So we're sort of stuck with this for a couple of years, aren't we?
Yeah, we are stuck with it unless, I know there are a lot of people working behind the scenes to try and do things, and good credit to them. And I really hope they succeed. For me, I don't really hold any hope in it. I just try and get through every day and enjoy my days because we know what's coming. But yeah, Carl, we haven't touched on what I think is even a bigger change, and that was the change to trusts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's significant because there are people who've got, and it's all trusts, isn't it? It's not, they haven't just itemized one or two different kinds of trusts. They've just used the word blanket trusts.
Trust. I have seen some more detail that is saying they are carving out certain types of trusts, but the main one they are attacking is basically the family discretionary trusts, which Australian businesses are made up. 70% of Australian business are small business, and a huge number of them, hundreds of thousands of them, are run through family discretionary trusts. And I did a little bit of number crunching on it this morning. I looked at a common example I see in my own client base of, say, mum and dad running a business, 2 adult children working in the business, true family business. Let's say they're earning 400,000 profit. They split that between the 4 of them. They're earning 100,000 each, which is a pretty standard earning in Australia. Under these new changes, that family will pay $30,000 a year more in tax.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And then they've been so generous, haven't they? Given us a $250 offset. So that family, 30,000 more in tax, but they're going to get a $250 offset each, so they'll get $1,000 back. Wow.
Gee, they'll all be able to go out for a steak dinner once a year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in my video. My kids took me to a restaurant and the steak was $220. Lucky I don't eat steak. But anyway, I ordered whatever I want because my kids were happy. It's just $250. And we're not getting that till 2028. So we're going to be pretty hungry for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're making these trust changes immediately?
Yeah. It's July 2020. So basically next financial year, absolutely. So 30% tax on trust. It's a fundamental change to And it's also very, very unfair. So going back to that example of mum and dad and the two adult kids earning 100,000 each. I mean, that's just a modest income. That's not even really enough to survive on in Australia
Yeah.
at the moment. But if they were running, I just look up my tax rates, but if they were running that as an individual, they would be on a much lower tax bracket, anywhere between 15 to 20%. You don't hit the 30% tax bracket as an individual until 135,000 in income. And then it's only 30% on the amount above 135,000. The rest is all taxed at a much lower rate. But no, this will now be flat 30% across the board.
Wow. So I guess your next month is spent figuring out ways, means, and other places where people can transfer this family trust into something else that's a little more protected, maybe something that they're carving out, as you said. But
Well, people will
obviously they're
probably
not
go
going to give you an escape route. They're not going to give you an easy escape route because they want this money. They're broke.
Yeah. But yeah,
So-
yeah, they do want the money. People will just restructure. I'd say, the only thing logical is to go to a company structure, which is taxed at 25%. Yeah, so there may be
I
other
see.
ways around. There may be other ways around it, which, that's part of my job as what I do is when the laws come and we get the technical detail, then we can start looking at the ways around it. So, for example, a trust paying those mum and dad and two sons a wage of $100,000 each might still go under the individual tax bracket and they avoid the 30%. So we don't know. We'll just have to see the devil in the detail when it comes out.
Yeah, it's staggering to me that a government of any kind would lie to people's faces about this. Now, they've been asked about superannuation numerous times, about whether or not they're going after that and what sort of attacks they might make, and they've squealed the same thing. Oh, no, we're not doing that, we're not doing that, we're not doing that. Now, they haven't done it this time round, as far as I believe, but
No.
do you have any trust that they won't hit it this time next year?
I don't really trust in anything they do. And then, as you probably know, I was harping on that I thought they would bring in the death tax, inheritance tax, which they didn't.
Yeah.
But I don't trust that they won't. So that's probably all been saved up for next budget now. But superannuation, I've always said the government are very pro superannuation. The main reason being is that they know that they can't afford to pay everybody's age pension. They know they can't. So they are very pro superannuation so that people will provide for themselves. So they are quite careful about any adverse effects on superannuation when they make these changes.
And we've signed up to $1 trillion superannuation investment deal into the United States as well. So if a lot of people stop contributing to, big super here, it's going to make their commitments in America that much harder, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So they won't do that. And for people who don't want their money invested in America, self-managed super fund is the way to go because you can control it yourself.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Your money stays with you, your wealth stays with you, and the wealth building stays with you. So I can't recommend your services enough, Cass. Now, you've been focused pretty heavily on one particular form of trust, a very high-end bloodline trust of late. This trust will also be affected, I presume, in similar ways?
Yeah, but not for the reason that we've been doing it. So the family protection trusts were to transfer the property into the trust before the inheritance taxes come in. So we were rushing to get them all done by budget, which we did do. But now we've got a saving grace. So anyone that's interested, we still have time, possibly another year until the next budget. So no, they are still working exactly as we previously have explained, because the 30% tax is just on income, not the asset itself. So
Right.
let's say you've transferred your family home into this protective trust. There's no income, so there's no 30% tax, but you're still avoiding the 30 to 40% inheritance tax when they eventually bring that in. So yeah, no, it's still, the family protection trust is still good to go.
It's a real thing. I was talking about it with somebody while we were on the cruise last week, and one lady piped up and told us her experience, and that was of a friend of hers, a male friend who had a partner. They'd been together for many years. When he died, he left everything to her, and a codicil that when she dies, then she should split, with his original daughter, who he'd had in another marriage. When this woman died 3 months later, she left everything to her son, and therefore the person that had accumulated all the wealth, had built the house, had paid the bills and done everything, and wanted to leave something for their daughter, was unable to because they'd willed it the wrong way. So it's very important that people understand, if they want their assets to go to a family member, there are ways you have to these days go about protecting it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really common story, Carl. Another similar story is that the first partner dies, leaves everything to their partner, as you do, and then 5 years later, that partner remarries, then dies, and everything goes to the new husband. That's even more insulting.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So asset
Wow, just gets
protection
worse.
so asset protection is an area that I'm still specializing in. I'm sort of trying to retire from everything, but asset protection is something I'm still passionate about, in just making sure people have got wills in place so that their assets go to where they want them to go. Fundamentally, people need to understand that if you don't have a will, the government will step in and take control of all your assets, and they will decide who gets your assets and charge you a huge amount of fees. I don't think anyone wants that. So
No.
yeah, everybody needs a will.
And if you can save on fees, you can put those savings straight into some silver or gold at ainsleyBullion.com.au. Use my name and you'll get a little bit of a discount when you buy. It's always nice. It's not a huge discount. Don't think you're going to save millions unless you're probably buying millions, and then you'll save thousands. But, that's how it works. Cass, I know you're busy. I know you've got more appointments lined up, so I'm going to let you go. But thank you very much for taking some time today to try and explain the budget bullshit to us. And you and I'll be having some quiet conversations with our mobile foes somewhere in another dimension about what we can do going forward.
Yeah, because at the moment going forward, I can't think of anything at this stage until I see the detail. But then, that's my job, is to try and look at the detail, try and find ways out of it, around it, totally legally, of course.
Absolutely.
But, I said in my Q&A that I was just on, it's getting to the point where leaving the country is about the only solution. Really is.
Is it? Well, you've done a little bit of world traveling recently, even though I wouldn't say where you've traveled has been first world, but what is your experience out there in the rest of the world? How does Australia compare with fuel, with cost of living, everything else?
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I think I was talking to you when I was in Bali. They didn't have any price rise on their fuel at all. And I've been in other countries where the tax rates are zero or very, very minimal. We're probably all now aware that there's countries out there that have a lot of natural resources, that they use the country uses the money they make on the natural resources to support their people.
Yeah.
Unlike Australia, who takes all that natural resources, sends it overseas, and taxes us basically to death. So, some of the research
again when we're at the pub whinging about it, having a beer.
Yep, and then taxes us when we sell our properties, and then now eventually they'll tax us when we die. There's countries out there with a lot better systems, and more and more people are moving offshore. I'm doing it myself. I've set up now in Dubai, and I couldn't finish that because the war broke out, but I will. But I've been told other countries as well, there's quite a lot out there with some good tax systems, and that's probably one of my next focuses, is to start working out how to do that in other countries.
Just be careful of that.
Which is really sad.
When you get over there.
Yeah, which is really sad because I love Australia.
Yeah, it is. And I've got some friends who are in Dubai at the moment. In fact, they're so in Dubai they can't get out of it. They've been slapped with fines in excess of $70,000 and $80,000 for taking photos of damaged buildings after drone attacks and posting them on social media. They've been locked up for it. they've been let out, but they've got these fines hanging over their heads, and they will not be allowed out of the country until they're paid.
Wow.
So Dubai, while a beautiful place, bear in mind, when you walk into the land, they take your passport and they don't give it back until they're ready to let you out. So
Yeah. Well, there are ways of
I
setting up
got offered a job years ago. I got offered a job years ago in Abu Dhabi, and I was set to take that job, thinking, God, how good is this? The Formula One track's right there. The Ferrari world is right there. And then I read the "we take your passport" part. And I thought, not the way that I drink and the way that I behave. I'll never get out of there alive. So I never took the job.
Yeah, well, you can set up businesses over there without having to live there. So that's what some people are doing. But yeah, but there are other countries as well that are worth looking at. I don't have the answers yet, so don't contact me yet. But certainly when I find answers, I can't help myself but put them out to people.
No, you've got a big mouth that way, and we thank you for it. Good on you, Cass.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all. Catch you again.
Catherine Smith, Freedom Financial Solutions. You can get to them at Cass at freedomffs.com.au is her email address. If you want to schedule an appointment with her, you can do that. And if you would like to learn a little bit more, I'm sure she'll be happy to share. Now, let's have a look at something that's a little interesting. And, well, you would have thought just a short time ago it might have been science fiction. You think that's pretty cool? I think that's a very, very cool bit of kit. Bring myself back up and pull that off. Do you want to hear a little bit about it? That's a US-designed drone that is capable of providing video and audio surveillance, as well as providing assassination capabilities, I guess is the best way to say it. That little thing can be packed with a small amount of explosive and flown directly into its target. And depending on, I guess, where it hits it, but they'd be aiming to blow the head off whatever their target would be. It can do that sort of stuff too. It is a nano biotechnology, which means there is a lot of nanotech in it, but there is also some form of organicness to it. And there has been some stories coming out recently about experimentations with just that sort of thing, crossing the mechanical bio barrier. I guess we've done that many, many moons ago, but the Americans seem to be pushing that as solid as they can. I don't know why they would continue, but they are seemingly continuing to do it. Well, I do know why. They've got a new virus to promote. So the hantavirus. Now, a few days ago, 4 people passed away on a ship off the coast of Spain, and everybody on the ship was locked down. We've got 4 Australians, I think, and 2 others coming back to Australia on a quarantined flight. They're not coming back on a commercial flight. I guess the World Health Organization will be paying for that. Indirectly, the Australian government, indirectly, the Australian people will be paying for that. And that's okay. We've got to get them home. At least now they're going to go and put them in a biosecurity centre that was built in Western Australia just so they could lock people up. In fact, they were just about to turn it into a prison because in Western Australia, their prisons are overflowing. But they've got 6 people to put in. I think it's a 3,000-bed facility. But who knows? The way they're ramping up the propaganda around this virus, it's bloody disgusting. And for those people who don't listen to news, or worse still, get their news from the ABC, or even worse still, get their news secondhand from somebody who watches the ABC, we could be in all sorts of shit because these people are seriously going to believe that this hantavirus is as bad as COVID. It's worse. People have died, all 4 on one boat. Oh, it's a killer. And it happens quickly. Well, I did mention this morning in the show that there is not a high likelihood of this thing jumping across species. From rat poo to you is pretty much how this virus travels. But if you do have the squirty thing in your arm or a number of squirty things in your arm, then I guess at some point you could well be susceptible, because they do say on the side effects side of the instructions that hantavirus is one of the side effects. Now, should the world start going down with hantavirus, will it be because of infections by things like that, or by the AI rats that we saw falling out of the truck this morning? Or is it more likely to be through the breakdown of the COVID virus into the next phase of whatever it is they put inside you? And bear in mind, there is a ton of that nano technology inside us all. But take heart, good people, take heart. There are some facts which I will forward through to Vince that you should read and be aware of. Now, these facts, there's only 2 pages of them, but in their own words, you will see in there that hantavirus is not transmissible to humans easily. Apparently, though, this one, been breaking news this afternoon, who knew, that this particular version of hantavirus might be able to get to humans. So I don't know. I'm not really a betting man, as last week on the cruise proved, but I'd nearly take money odds on that sometime soon they're going to be taking numbers for a new global pandemic. And they've been prepared for it. But the problem is, while they've been preparing and building distribution centers for all sorts of poisons, manufacturing and distribution centers, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the US, the UK, France, all got new distribution centers for these drugs to be spread out around the world as fast as possible. I can only assume that there will be a vaccine for the hantavirus, or whatever they call it. Now, this matter is being forced on us, and I don't think that it's going to work. I think too many people may not be awake up to the actual criminal act that is being committed against us, and that is one of genocide. But even the most unawake normie does not want to get locked up again, will not get locked up again. Will the people of Victoria accept the numpty that's currently running the state if she were to stand up in front of a press conference and say, oh, congratulations, you've all got to stay home for the next 40 days. We're doing it to flatten the curve. I'm waiting for that to come out. Would they do it? Would the people of Victoria actually lock themselves down again? Now, I doubt it. And I doubt the government would ask them to, because the Victorian state government, at least, settled a case with 16,000 small businesses that sued the government over lockdowns during COVID, and they've won. They've won something like $160+ million settlement that the Victorian taxpayer now has to pay the bill for. And why? Well, we had hoped that this court case would mean the truth would finally be out. But of course, when it came time for the government to put people on the stand to actually get evidence, hear evidence, and try and rebut some evidence, they knew that they were on a hiding to absolutely nothing, and settled on the steps of the court the morning of, what would have been their loss. So congratulations to the 16,000 businesses, some of whom will cop $1 million or more each, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. I wonder how much they will actually get out of it, given that I think it was a no-win, no-fee court, or lawyers who ran it. But be that as it may, it is also the principle and the precedent that this sets. Well, does it set a precedent? The court didn't make a decision, so no, it doesn't set a precedent. However, it does set a very bad look for governments who do things unlawfully, then fight you all the way to the court door, to the very last day where they actually have to go into the court and open their mouths and perjure themselves, and that's when they settle. But they're trying to break you every other way between their first assault and that last day in court, and they break you with lawfare. So congratulations to those businesses. But I doubt that the Victorians would lay down again and close their doors and refuse to go to work, although a lot of them do enjoy working from home. And, well, they trained us. Why wouldn't you want to work from home? It's not a bad sort of a deal. Pardon me. I have to tell you, folks, I'm not feeling terribly well. It started very early this morning when I got up at 5:30 and wasn't feeling flash then. We did a little show this morning, still wasn't feeling flash then. And now I'm got little hot and cold things going on. And every time I move, my skin aches. Don't you hate it? I don't know what I've picked up or how I've picked it up, because I've really only been puddling around inside the bus and in a container here for the last couple of days trying to clean up a few things. But, yeah, I think it's going to knock me on my ass tonight, that's for sure. So if you don't see me tomorrow, you'll understand, I hope. But I am going at this with a very positive attitude, and I will be life-waving myself in the not-too-distant future. And I think, Tony, you're in the chat, and maybe Rachel too. I might get you to say a few healing prayers for me to re-energize me, because I've got to say, today I have had just feels like the energy sucked clean out of me. And that may have something to do with our federal budget and the bastards who delivered it. This morning I spoke about what are you prepared to do? And, whoops, sorry, I'm just reading things. And it moved. Carl, have you heard from Black Sheep? No, I haven't. Now that you mention that, I'll ring him tonight. He was coming over around about this time, but then fuel and everything got a bit weird, and I don't know if he decided he was going to or not. I hope he has. You've thrown me now. At any rate, our healing group, if you can say some positive thoughts about me tonight, that would be good. I'd like to be back on my feet and not coughing and spluttering and carrying on. Although at least I haven't been down to Victoria to catch it, where my daughter, since moving down to Victoria, seems to have had a perpetual cold. And no, she's not jabbed. So I think it's just reacclimatizing, and a fairly painful part of it could be. I'm just having a bit of a look at some of your comments. There's a jam. We all need it in our health. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, I've found a few tablets and things today while I was cleaning up that I may put to good use in the near future. I had a feeling that I might be invaded by toxic things, so a week on a cruise can do that for you. I mean, I'm not saying the Scotch was bad, or the Irish whiskey at any rate was bad. It wasn't, but I'm just saying that my body, not used to any alcohol at all for a very, very long time. I mean, I'm strictly like a 2 beers, or if I do go and have a can of this stuff, then it's maybe 1-2 cans at the most. But yeah, I was in closer proximity to more Jameson's whiskey over the course of that cruise than I have been in the last 10 years. And I think my body is just still recovering from it a bit. Is it a normal thing to be knackered when you come back from a cruise? I thought they were meant to be relaxing things. Speaking of relaxing things, I was speaking to, well, I won't say who, but a couple of different opportunities for us to go and have a group getaway. There could well be one in New South Wales, the Central Coast area, and we will let you in on that once we've figured out more of the details and the logistics of that. There are some logistical issues we need to play around with for those of you who've been watching and playing along, you'll know who I'm referring to. There has been suggestions of houseboat cruises, and somebody has even suggested that they will go and kidnap Vince and bring him on a houseboat.
Yeah, no.
And I sort of said that'd be pretty much how it worked as well. So, yeah, no. But we could try. There is a way I have figured out. If we do the Murray riverboats, then given the way that I've seen some of you can drink, we're going to need replenishment. And Vince might be able to be the bloke who does all the replenishing runs as we paddle our way down the river. He can take the road.
Yep, that one I could work with. That one I could work with.
There you go. Thank you, mate. So we have plans. There are afoot. And, of course, there are big plans afoot for Stony Creek, June 27. I've got to have a chat with Vince about how we're going to get there yet, but we will get there one way or t'other. Have absolutely no fear. There's a band going to play, and if What There's Foot is done all the right things, I suspect that band, who already have their own harmonica player, might get two more. Just saying. There's half a chance. But should be a wonderful event. The Stony Creek Bush Camp and Holiday Park, I think it's called, in Wilmington, South Australia. It's at the, well, call it the foot of the Flinders Ranges. It will be a great experience. Really looking forward to it. And we're going at the cooler time of the year. And if you wanted to extend that trip, I might be able to be talked into going further north to Coober Pedy for a look if people wanted to do that afterwards. I do know a couple of people in Coober Pedy who've suggested it would be lovely to pop up there and say hello. So half a chance if there is a level of interest. I know that there are some people planning on coming across with their caravans from Victoria. And I think Coober Pedy is probably another 4 or 5 hours up the road, at least from Wilmington. But I would be very keen to go and have a look at the opal capital of Australia. Well, at least one form of opal capital of Australia, and have a beer, go into the underground motel maybe and check that out. Not to stay, but just to check out. And they've got an underground museum too, I think, from memory. So a few interesting things to see in Coober Pedy. Not Cooper, Cuba. I got schooled on that many years ago. I think I'm just about done. Are you done?
Oh, I've got a little bit for people to actually think about.
Oh, roger that.
We all know that the current unemployment rate's around 4.5%. But after doing a little bit of research, did you realize that there's also another 5.9% that are recorded by the Australian government as people who require more hours? Right. So now when you look at that, that means that if we take the people who are unemployed, the people who are looking for more hours, we're now up around 9.8% thereabouts, somewhere around that. But they do not record the people as unemployed who have given up looking for employment, because there isn't any.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And if you add to that, so that puts, they say there's about 800,000 people that are currently unemployed of the 14.7 million people that are available in the workforce or are currently employed. But you've also got in that officially unemployed 680 to 700,000. On job seeker is 800,000. And that's from the working population of 15 to 64. Take into that we have, let me find it again, well over 1 million people that are on disability.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're talking about 2 million of the 18 million people who are currently being employed. Right. Yeah. And it's even higher when you take into account the other benefits that are also coming through. So, guys, just something to think about. So when they say that's 4.5 unemployment, it's not really 4.5 unemployment because there's a lot of people struggling. 5.9% that are looking for more work because they obviously don't have enough hours to do what they're doing. So,
and they count
just a piece of
somebody.
info.
They count somebody who's doing 5 or 10 or 15 hours a week as just as employed as a person doing 40.
Correct. Yes, I haven't been able to find out exactly where that level stops. These are ABS stats. You can't seem to get the how many hours do you actually work before you are considered as no longer unemployed. So I haven't been able to find out that information.
Well, last time I checked, if you worked casually for 12 months, the business you were working for was obligated to put you on full time if you worked 12 months for them. But that was Queensland. I don't know if it's different anywhere else.
No, I don't think that's valid. Not here in South Australia, anyway.
Well, the unions made it so that and the government wants it this way. So they cut back people's hours. Oh, we'll give you 15 to 20 hours here. And then they can give 2 people 15 to 20 hours rather than 2 people 80 hours. That means that there's still another 40 hours they've got to find from somewhere. So they split that up with another 2 people. And rather than employing 2 people, you've employed 4.
Yeah.
That is the pretend maths that they use.
Well, this is the figures for you. Age pension, 2.6 to 2.7 million people. This is in Australia, right? Job seeker, 800,000 people. Disability support pension, 760,000 people. Carers payment / allowance, 1 million combined. Parenting payment, that's for those single mums, hence the reason why they love single parent families, 600,000. Youth Oz Study, Ab Study, hundreds of thousands. Family tax rebate, millions, because a lot of people get that. And other support payments as additional carriages. But if we just add up those figures, 2.7, 3.5, 4.2, and 5.2 million people out of 18 million people are getting pretty much all their money from the government.
Now take in all the Uber immigrant drivers.
Yeah, well, they're probably on the pension and getting some side benefit from it. Yep. Can't say too much about that. I mean, that's how my daughter is making a living at the moment while she's going through school. It's the only way they can survive.
God love her for doing it. I mean, I did Uber myself. But what I'm saying is that it is a hidden economy in there.
Completely.
Although Uber certainly makes it very hard to, unless you get a tip, given to you by the person in your hand, the cash part of that business is gone. It all happens in an app, and is it Ashton Kutcher who owns it? He gets paid before anybody else. So I don't know. Not for me anymore, and it's not for a lot of people anymore. I believe that that the model is dying a slow death. However, there isn't a future. Most of the cabs now are really only working when the flights are coming in. You don't see too many taxis running around unless you're in a regional area where that taxi business is owned by a local family. But certainly in the smaller regions. But Uber is I believe on the way out. So. They're going to have a glut of cars very shortly too, because there's, I believe, a political party that's rolling along, building a wave, and if they get into power, they're going to be sending a lot of those Uber drivers home.
Yeah,
that's their promise.
Most of the cars, I mean, most of the Uber drivers and stuff use their own cars, so they do here in South Australia. So.
You might be surprised to learn that most Uber drivers get a deal because they can't afford a $40,000 or $50,000 car because they don't have that access to actually own the car, and it's cheaper, smarter, and easier to go through a leasing company where you pay. I think I was paying $200 or $205 a week. That paid my car payment, looked after servicing and tires and insurances and all that sort of stuff. So essentially, I would work for a day to pay all of that off, and then the other 6 days, I would make whatever I could make out of it, and that would be mine. So at the end of 3 years or 2 years or whatever, you can upgrade your car. You don't have any, and it's a tax deduction, of course. You know, the cost of your car is a 100% tax deduction. So they don't usually own their cars if they're smart, because it costs them too much money.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I just thought I would bring that in for people to think about, you know, the true hidden economy of what the government is saying, especially the underemployed. 5.9 million people, or 5.9%, sorry. 5.9% are underemployed. That means they're employed, but they're underemployed.
Yep.
So
5.9%
of
2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And still not making
100%.
enough money. Anyway,
No, exactly.
I'm going to do this.
He waves so well, doesn't he? I better tell you about the merch side. If he has been on and I haven't told you, he gets very angry. So if you'd like to help us out, you can do so a couple of different ways. You can go and buy a hoodie, or you can buy new hats. Oh, I didn't think they'd come up real well. Here's one. This is the new Voice of Freedom hat. And then there is the other Voice of Freedom hat that has my bonds on it as well. These turned up the other day. These are foamy hats. They're very good for hot areas. They look all right. Not too shabby. And will stop your head from sweating. Well, at least allow it to air out. So you can check those out on our merch.vofhq.com site. And then have a look at our hoodies, because it's getting near that time of year where it's going to get bloody cold. And you might want to keep, well, all parts of you warm. We can help. Some beautiful hoodies. And, of course, if you're interested in growing a hot soup cup collection, we can help you out with an educational collection based around new words, well, old words that haven't been used in a while, but they are certainly words that we should never have lost the meaning.
We all live in a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy, a kakistocracy.
I just love kakistocracy. It just rolls off the tongue beautifully. All right, folks, you have yourself a bloody good night. I will pop back again tomorrow, all things being equal in a beautiful world. And if you are sending me healing energies, and I know some of you are now already, because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling better already. So thank you very much for the work that you're doing there. And God love you, folks. Be safe on the roads. Watch out for the dickheads. They are everywhere and do like to excel.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!